Merriam's online academy. Today we'll be going over my top 5 tips for getting Menuet and Rondeau to a professional level. Over my decades of adjudicating, these are the things that I've noticed that you need to get this piece sounding its best. Menuet and Rondeau can be found in the Royal Conservatory Grade 2 book, which can be purchased by following the link in the description below. As well, be sure to check out my full performance video of this song. So let's take a look at tip number 1. Menuet and Rondeau is a dance. So the important thing here is to capture the dance character. So to do that, we're going to put a slight emphasis on beat number 1. So let's take a look at what that looks like in playing the piece. When you start the piece, you want to lean into the first beat slightly. Second bar, same thing. Third bar. If you don't do that, you get a sound that's a little bit robotic. It'll sound like this. So for that, I played all the notes exactly the same way. Without that slight emphasis, we don't get the feeling that this is a dance. A minuet can be likened to a waltz in modern-day music, so you want to have that little bit of a pulse. At the same time, don't over-accent. It'll sound like this. And we don't want that either. We want something graceful. So instead, a slight pulse, and I find one of the best ways to do that is just to slightly lean forward into the keys, and you'll get just the perfect emphasis on those notes. Like that. Tip number 2. What we want to do is play the quarter notes consistently detached, but not staccato. This is a little bit of a tricky concept, but very, very important. If I play my left hand really staccato, it will sound like this. Which, as you can see, sounds very clipped, and it doesn't add to the graceful character of the piece. Instead, what you want to do is detach the notes. So it's almost like your finger gets stuck in the key for a moment before coming out. And then you get a little bit rounder tone rather than something that's too clipped or too short. So that will sound like this. As you can see, that's much more graceful and adds more to the dance character of the piece. Tip number 3, we are going to add phrasing to the right hand melody. And we want to play to the bottom of the key for a really, really clear tone. So let's take a look at how those two things look. Just for some variety, how about I start in line number 3? So for this, what we want to do in our right hand, we're emphasizing beat 1. And to get a really, really nice sense of phrasing, what we're going to do is slightly diminuendo and then slightly crescendo in each bar like this. So slight emphasis on beat 1, and then a little softer, crescendo. It's kind of like when you're speaking. Do you hear how my voice goes up and down? I don't keep the exact same monotone inflection all the time. That's what phrasing is. It's the little bit of crescendo and diminuendo that gives the piece a little bit more life and a little bit more character. So here's how line 3 would sound with a really nice phrasing. So that up and down feeling gives it more life and more character. Let's take a look at tip number 4. Play the trill with a slight emphasis on the first note. So what do I mean by that? It's very common when people play a trill that, first of all, it's hard to play it fast, and secondly, it's hard to make it sound graceful. So the tip for that is to have the first note a little bit stronger and then the other notes lighter. So to give a good example of that, I'm just going to show you the first trill, the DC-DC. Like that. So do you see how I went into the first note, stronger. I keep my fingers very, very close to the keys to play the other notes. Here's what I see as a common problem. People lift their fingers up a little bit too high and then the trill gets clunky like this. Not graceful at all. So keep your fingers close to the key, lean into the first note, and play the other notes very light. If you start with slow practice on this, you'll get a very, very effective trill. Like that. My final tip for really adding some great polish to this piece is to add a slight ritardando to the last bar so that you can end the piece with a really polished finish. So I'm just going to play starting in line number 2, starting right here, the second time through so you can get an idea how that sounds. So those are my top 5 tips for getting this piece sounding professional. Be sure to check out more of the videos on our channel, and thanks so much for watching.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Merriam's Online Academy. Check back here for more videos and don't forget to subscribe below.